Title: Generals are always beaten in the face. Author: Super Panda. Copywriting: Wu Qiao. The only dream is to become a soldier. Therefore, when filling in the volunteers, he only reported to the military academy. However, he never expected that he had always been excellent, but the results of the genetic scan after the physical examination showed that he was extremely unsuitable for this profession. The screen clearly reads, "The conclusion is based on the statistics and analysis of the genes of countless soldiers in the past, and there is nothing wrong with it. Wu Qiao's data is too shocking to the world. It can be called the first waste in history." Taking into account the terrifying delay and the chance of turning over to the enemy, the military academy ultimately did not hire Wu Qiao, although very few of them were actually eliminated because of their genes in the past. None of the other volunteers reported, which means that he has nothing to do. There is almost no physical work in this era. The family thought that since they could not start a business, it would be better to start a family first, so they secretly matched his genes, looking for a more suitable partner based on his genes. As a result, the system found only one person. A few years ago, a person who became a 5-star general because of his achievements in battle. It is incredible to have only one person, only a little better than the 5-star general's 0 last year. The reply came quickly. The 5-star admiral's reply contained only 8 characters. That waste? Get out of here! Interstellar waste would slapped everyone's faces all the way, including Xiao Gong's face. Wu Qiao, why give up? Isn't there a 0.01% success rate? Attack, underbeat attack. Suffer, the chicken soup, the surface is calm, but the actual heart is like chicken blood every day. Content tag: Heaven made a happy family. The future of mecha is empty. Search keywords: protagonist, Wu Qiao. Supporting role: others. Editor's silver medal recommendation: Wu Qiao, who dreamed of becoming a soldier, was rejected by the military academy because his genetic level was too low, and he was called the first waste wood in history. Wu Qiao's family secretly matched him to find a partner, but the other party's rejection letter only contained 8 characters. That crap? Get out of here! Faced with one after another, he dared to ask if life can be even worse. The author's writing style is brisk and smooth, and the story is completed in one go. When the protagonist Wu Qiao doesn't want to give up and looks for all opportunities to fight the stars, readers can't help but guess whether the interstellar wastewood can successfully counterattack. This article intersperses cuteness and laughter in the inspirational story. The characters are unique and vivid. The emotional changes between Wu Qiao and the rejecter Tan Yan are also impressive. Volume 1: Military School Life. Wu Qiao sat by the lake, looking at the artificial island in the middle of the lake in the distance. There seemed to be another sky in the lake in the distance, and the shadow of clouds wandered leisurely in it. The sun-shattered silver swayed on the water, and was disturbed by the flapping wings of ducks from time to time. There is a sweet fragrance in the air. Everything is so beautiful. Wu Qiao sighed. In various biographies, when the important figures in the world encounter misfortune, the night falls and the rain is torrential. Wu Qiao had just experienced a sudden and severe blow. At this moment, the weather was as warm as early summer. It seemed that he was destined not to leave a name in history. Wu Qiao remembered the dazzling sentence in the refusal letter of the military academy again. Based on the results of the medical examination, it was decided not to be admitted. He never thought that there would be a problem with the genetic scan in the physical examination. Before, his cultural test scores topped the list. It is not difficult for him to be tested by stringent tests such as IQ, calmness, reaction speed, willpower, etc. The physical strength and various physical indicators in the physical examination are all excellent. After successfully entering the military academy, I didn't expect, but I was tragically eliminated in the genetic scan that has always been regarded as a going form. When he saw the numbers on the screen 3 days ago, Wu Qiao was stunned. That clearly shows: name, Wu Qiao. Probability of dragging comrades on the battlefield, 99.5%. Chance of death, 99.5% if not dead. The chance of turning in the enemy, 99.5%. Chance of becoming a battle hero, 0.01%. The conclusion is based on the statistics and analysis of the genes of countless soldiers in the past, and there is nothing wrong with it. The Military Academy established a genetic database 200 years ago, entered the genetic data of all students and their performance after graduation and joined the military, and established a laboratory to analyze the relationship between genes and potential. After everything has matured, this type of genetic scanning and potential determination based on big data has been listed as one of the medical examination items since 50 years ago. However, although this is one of the projects, very few people could not enroll because of genes in the past. After all, this is a civilized age, and schools will not easily deny all the efforts of a person because of genes. But Wu Qiao's data is too shocking. It can be called the first waste in history. Taking into account the frightening delay and the chance of surrendering to the enemy, the Military Academy finally did not hire Wu Qiao after hesitating for 3 days. The little luck that Wu Qiao had before was completely shattered. With the ashes, he also had his only dream, becoming a soldier. Wu Qiao's first 18 years of life can be said to have been smooth sailing. However, on the eve of his 18th birthday, the Thing life finally tore off its disguise impatiently, revealing its original hideous features. Human beings have developed for thousands of years. The matter of life does not seem to be easy at all. From time to time, it gives people a blow. People are always unhappy, but not completely desperate. Every individual is constantly catching up with what they desire to get, pushing human beings to evolve uninterruptedly in the long river. Wu Qiao was depressed, and suddenly he noticed someone approaching. He looked back and found that it was Su Yuking in the same class. The two seated adjacent to each other, the relationship has always been very close. It is not an exaggeration to say that they are best friends. Hi, Wu Qiao took the initiative to say hello. Have you skipped class again? Haha, Su Yuking smiled, pretending to be sick. Wu Qiao shook his head. This Su Yuking is basically the actor. No, I am afraid that the actor will be ashamed in front of him. His acting skills are superb, and every time he pretends to be ill and skips class, he can scare the people in the class and make people extremely worried about his physical condition. Of course, Su Yuking does not use the same reason every time. Occasionally, he will lie to the family that something needs to be dealt with. In these cases, he does not even need to ask for leave by himself. He only needs to tell his classmates about 1 or 2, and soon a teacher will come over. Su Yuking gave him a hug and told him to go home immediately, and told him very gently that things at home were far more important than schoolwork. Su Yuking sat down next to Wu Qiao, obviously coming here specially for Wu Qiao. You are also skipping class, I didn't expect it. Yet. Wu Qiao lowered his eyes. I only applied for 1 volunteer, and the rest is empty. The military academy rejected me. The enrollment of military academies has always been relatively early. In 1 or 2 months, professional examinations in other schools will begin one after another. There is only 1 military academy on Wu Qiao's volunteer list, and it really doesn't make much sense to continue classes. Su Yuking also sighed, then you have to make sure you graduate. It's just today. I will go to the classroom tomorrow. Wu Qiao said. Su Yuking thought for a while, and suddenly took a picture of Wu Qiao. Don't be discouraged. Genes can't tell everything. Oh. I'll give you a trick. Su Yuking showed a sunny smile, help you become the god of war of the universe. What is it? Although he didn't believe it, Wu Qiao asked. It's just blind fucking. What? Yes. Su Yuking nodded affirmatively. When you encounter an opponent, you will be blind and fucking. The moves are unrecognizable and unpredictable, so the opponent will only be blind and fucking, and then you will use your extremely rich. I've beaten him with the experience of fucking. Wu Qiao. Anyway, Su Yuking patted him on the shoulder. Human beings are subjectively active, as long as they are willing to think, there is always a way. Don't believe in data. Yet. Wu Jiao turned his head to look at Su Yuking. Thank you. It's okay. Su Yuking stood up, then I will go back first. I have already said that I am sick. If someone is caught chatting here, it will damage my positive image. Okay, I'm better. Wu Jiao's pupils were very dark. Don't worry about me, it's okay. After Su Yuking's enlightenment, Wu Jiao felt that he was indeed more energetic. At least one thing Su Yuking is right. When a road is blocked, he can always take another road. Who said that there is no other way to reach the end? There is a 0.01% chance of becoming a battle hero, isn't it? Why give up at this time? Even if you get to the Yellow River, your heart may not die, let alone try not to try. To become a soldier is Wu Jiao's long-time hope. When he was 10 years old, he saw an article in a magazine called Interstellar Reader with a sentence that had a profound impact on him. This is what an imperial general who has fought and fought for decades. I will not choose to be an ordinary person. I refuse to use my strength to trade the peace of my life. I don't need to tremble in front of anyone, the country does not need to panic in front of any country. Since then, Wu Jiao has yearned to fight in the stars. Although Wu Jiao later discovered that the articles on Interstellar Reader were all edited, the general had never made any similar remarks. Then, Wu Jiao thought for a while and decided to go directly to join the army, starting from the lowest level of work. In this way, slowly, he may also have access to battleships and mechas. Wu Jiao feels much better. He still has hope. He is hopeful that he can personally participate in ending the war. When Wu Jiao got home, he felt that the atmosphere was very wrong. Dad, Mother, Sister. Wu Jiao called out in turn. Unlucky you. My sister shook her head. As soon as Wu Jiao wanted to say he wanted to join the army, he heard his parents sigh, what are you going to do in the future? Ask you a few more intentions, but your child just doesn't listen. None of the other volunteers reported, which means that he has nothing to do. There is almost no physical work in this era. We thought that since we can't set up a business, it's okay to get married first, my sister continued, so we just did a genetic pairing for you. What? Gene pairing refers to finding a suitable partner based on genes. Imperial citizens who have reached the age of 18 can submit genetic data. The system searches the database, and locks all objects with a match of more than 90 points, and sends the information to both parties. Generally speaking, a person will have multiple suitable objects. As for choosing who will become a partner, it is the citizen's own right, although the system will strongly recommend the person with the highest score. This method has become a common way for imperial citizens to find a partner. However, it is not compulsory. To this day, many people still refuse to submit personal information, but choose people around them who agree with them, although the results of several large-scale investigations show the divorce rate of people who have been genetically matched and combined is significantly lower, and the genetic level of the offspring is also higher. You, continued my sister, it is worthy of only one person. Oh. Wu Jiao was not very interested in this. I sent a letter to the other party in your name. Hey! Wu Jiao didn't mean this at all, even if he could understand his family's thoughts. In this era, there are quite a lot of people who got married early. Just like the ancient people on Earth did, they concentrate on raising their children at home and assisting their partners in working outside. The government often uses raising good next generations as the most important thing. Career to appease these men and women. Of course, there are also families where both of them live on welfare at home. I'm in a hurry, so I sent the letter. My sister explained, it's Tan Yan, the youngest 5-star general in the empire. Is there only 2 5-star generals in the empire? The other one is 120 years old. This person was found by the system, and Wu Jiao was indeed a little surprised. Tan Yan, since joining the military, his position has risen like a rocket. A year ago, he became a 5-star general because of his achievements. He is only 28 years old this year. Today, when the average life expectancy has exceeded 180 years, his life has just begun. The two five-star generals of the empire are completely opposite on almost any point. One of the most talked about is that Tan Yan's genetic pairing results are 0 every year, and Shan, 18 years old, more than 600 pairs were found in the first match that year, and more since then. People jokingly called it the mass turkey. The only thing in common is the military talent. Tan Yan and Xiaoan are both idols of Wu Jiao. Now, all of a sudden, it's tied to marriage, which really feels unreal. On the one hand, it's because the other party is this person. My sister said again. On the other hand, the system only finds someone for you. I'm afraid that he will be snatched away by others if you don't hurry. Although it feels unlikely, but just in case, always good. Did he see the letter? Wu Jiao asked. If you don't see it, just withdraw it. It's all back. So fast? What do you write? Watch it for yourself. My sister called up the screen. This is the one. Wu Jiao glanced over and found that there were only 8 words on it. The first waste of firewood in history has already been passed to the military. It seems that in Tan Yan's eyes, he is just the first in history who wanted to get married and have children on the first day after being rejected by the military academy. It's just a waste of wood. I'm so angry. My sister said angrily, your genes have just been put into the warehouse today, and he has finally been able to match a person, and he actually talked to you in this tone. I will send him another letter to change his mind. No. Wu Jiao looked up at his sister and parents. No need, because I want to join the army. In this highly technological era, it is not a good choice to join the army directly. I haven't read a military academy, and I'm not familiar with science and technology. I can only do the simplest jobs, and my promotion opportunities are quite limited. However, Wu Qiao has no other choice. He directly signed up to join the army after graduation, and became a low-level soldier after passing a few simple checks. Soldiers at the bottom have almost no chance to go to the battlefield. They just do some auxiliary work, such as growing vegetables and pigs in the barracks, so they are not strictly screened like they are in military academies. After officially becoming a soldier, there is an interview. Wu Jiao prepared for the interview very seriously, hoping to be assigned a relatively better job. He is quite confident about this. After all, his results have been very good. However, things backfired. The interviewer only asked Wu Jiao one question: why come to join the army? Wu Jiao's answer was, because I want to change the world. Then, he was assigned the worst job mining. Said this job worst mainly because the mining star's environment is extremely harsh, and it is the same all year round. If the spring breeze is like a mother's hand, the spring on mining star is the hand of a cruel stepmother. At present, the most widely used energy source is Qingsha, which can release a lot of energy and has been supporting all aspects of the empire since it was discovered 150 years ago. The name of the person who found Qingsha was Chu Yanting. This man was just an ordinary lecturer at an 18th-rate university. His friends knew that he liked all kinds of stones since he was a child, so he would bring some stones back as gifts whenever he traveled between stars. One day 150 years ago, after Chu Yanting received a gift from a friend from a distant planet, she inadvertently realized that if a specific particle is used to impact the nucleus of the substance, a lot of energy can be generated. Because the stone is blue, he named it Qingsha. At that time, traditional resources were facing exhaustion, and a new alternative energy source was urgently needed. Qingsha's discovery eliminated panic, and has since been used by the army and civilians. Chu Yanting's name was written into the textbook, and she became a who saved the world. Qingsha only exists on a few planets. These planets are all located in the empire. Only the imperial government can mine the Qingsha, and only the imperial government has the right to deal with them. The empire did not directly export the raw materials of Qingsha, but set up a company in the Republic to directly transport the converted energy. After the Republic made a long-planned and sudden declaration of war on the Empire stopped its energy supply to the Republic. However, the Republic was well prepared for the war. Before the war, it had accumulated a large amount of traditional energy and decided to end the war as soon as possible. The loss of energy shortage to the people of the Republic is far greater than that to the military. This has always been the case in history. In times of scarcity, people will always suffer first. Under the pressure of humanity, the Empire eventually increased its energy supply. Although the two sides signed an agreement that energy can only be used for civilian purposes, there is no way to know whether the Republic has exploited any loopholes in the Empire. The mining process of green sand is very complicated. Even today, there are still errors in the development of purely using machines, and it is impossible to distinguish the green sand from the surrounding waste with extreme precision. The imperial government once supervised the company's hiring of ordinary workers for mining, but for some reason, it handed over the work to the military. Wu Qiao has been mining for a year and a half, and everyone is annoying him. Wu Qiao always made suggestions to the officials, telling him about the new methods he thought of that could improve the work process and increase work efficiency. In fact, no one in the miners except Wu Qiao wants to improve the work process and increase work efficiency. Everyone just wants to stay quiet for 2 years, and then use the status of veterans to get better benefits and find better jobs. Whether they can dig more is not what they care about. That's it. There are hundreds of people in the team. Everyone hates Wu Qiao. When he mentions him, all comments are always high profile and it's just him. Wu Qiao's only friend is Donovan from another team. "Hey," Donovan asked curiously in a somewhat gloomy weather, "why were you sent here?" "Okay. You look very clever." Generally speaking, people who are sent to mine are very physically strong but not very clever, because there is no use clever to do this kind of work. "I don't understand either." Wu Qiao really didn't understand. The interviewer only asked me one question, and then decided to send me here. "What is the problem?" "Ask me why I want to join the army." "How did you answer?" "I said I want to change the world." Until now, Wu Qiao still thinks this answer is very ordinary. "Ha ha ha, no wonder he bothers you." Donovan smiled. "Because your answer is so annoying." Wu Qiao was a little dazed. Everyone is annoying him, he knows this very well, but he never thought that he would be annoying if he wanted to change the world. Is he really annoying in every move? While thinking about this very serious question, a harsh alarm sounded in my ears: "All personnel should evacuate immediately." Wu Qiao raised his head. At this time, cluster bombs, laser missiles, etc. are falling from the sky. The loud noise is deafening, the sky has been torn apart by the beam of laser weapons, the shock wave caused by the bomb swept the surrounding dust, layers of air waves and smoke enveloped the center of the mine star, and all the bombing targets were instantly swallowed by a sea of fire. The pressing heat wave hits everyone's nerves. "What's the matter?" Donovan asked. "Get down!" Wu Qiao shouted. Obviously, this mining star was attacked. Then, Wu Qiao heard Pia. He turned his head and saw that behind him was a dilapidated mecha. Just the sound of it falling to the ground, the mecha seemed to be working hard against the intruder. After a while, the mecha flew into the sky with a row sound again, seemingly intending to make a final fight. Unfortunately, as soon as it appeared, it was besieged by its opponents. With a burst of rainy bye 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 sound, the mecha exploded in midair. In the loud noise, various parts were scattered, and the wreckage spread over at least 1 kilometer. "My God!" Donovan covered his mouth. "Hurry up and hide in the nearest mine." Wu Qiao said to Donovan. "How about you? I have something else." "What's the matter?" Donovan asked. Wu Qiao didn't answer, but hunched over and left quickly. He had a strange feeling he had to go to see where the mecha dropped just now. The place was very close, and it didn't take long for Wu Qiao to reach the destination. Because of the sudden landing of the heavy mecha just now, all the vegetation here has been staggered. In the mess, Wu Jiao saw a man leaning against a tree trunk. He was wearing an imperial military uniform with blood on his face and body, and he seemed to be unable to stand up. Wu Jiao thought to himself, sure enough, the last mecha rushed to the sky in the unmanned mode. The people inside had escaped before that. Since this was an imperial soldier, he naturally wanted to save him. Hey! Wu Jiao patted his face, hold on, I'll take you to the mine. Do not touch me. Wu Jiao patted his face again, open your eyes. You guy! I'll take you into the mine. Wu Jiao repeated, try to walk. The man looked up at the distance and said in a very hoarse voice, I will tell you how to get there. Don't go into the nearest mine, go to the other one not far away. Why? I don't want to say too much, you just do. After saying this, he closed his mouth, unwilling to utter one more word. His physical condition seemed very bad. Wu Jiao glanced at the people around him. It seems that the level of the injury picked up is not low, always giving orders from high above. It seems that he is completely unaware that he needs to rely on himself to get rid of the current dangerous situation. Wu Jiao did not ask. He is just a low-level soldier, and there is no need to ask for reasons at all. They entered a mine. Wait a minute. Wu Jiao said, there are some simple cures in the mine. I will get some to treat your injuries first. There are no high-level medicines in the mines, and no treatment cabins are installed. Some are just very simple medicines that the miners might use at ordinary times. Wu Jiao fed the other party some anti-infection medicine, sprinkled hemostatic powder on the wound, and finally injected an analgesic injection. After doing this, Wu Jiao paused, then asked again, wait here. No. The man pointed to the other side, there is a passage there. We need to go deep underground. What? Wu Jiao shook his head, there is no passage here. What you said is impossible. The man was impatient again, how many things can you know? I have been here for a year and a half, and I know everything. Wu Jiao shut up before he finished speaking, because the other party was struggling to reach the depths of the mine. When he reached a wall, the man took out something and did something. The wall elements in front of him suddenly reorganized, and a passage that Wu Jiao had never heard of appeared in front of him. Wu Jiao's eyes widened, and the deep secret path reflected in his pupils. He never knew there was a mechanism here in the past. In a not-so-short journey, the person entered the password several times, performed fingerprint recognition and pupil recognition, and finally entered an empty room. As soon as Wu Jiao stepped in, he was shocked. There are 4 huge mechas in the room. Wu Jiao is totally unbelievable that there will be such a thing here. The metal shell reflects cold light, exuding a sense of pressure in the silent room. This is... Wu Jiao was so surprised that he didn't know what to say. The latest mecha. I'm thinking, why are there robots here? What do you say? This is a secret research base. Is this unclear? Wu Jiao couldn't help wondering whether this imperial officer's subordinate always wanted to beat him up. There is a research base here, and Wu Jiao has never heard of it. Probably because it is close to the energy source, it was chosen. If another base is built, the continuous transmission of energy may arouse the enemy's suspicion. Wu Jiao fell silent before asking again, what are you planning to do when you come to Mecha? Rush out. The other party smiled slightly, the other party's purpose is these mechas, and they will soon be discovered here. We escaped with the best one, and then destroyed the remaining 3. Destroy. Wu Jiao repeated the word. Relying on the fact that the 2 of us can't deal with them, and the Mine Star's garrison can't do it. Now that the Mine Star's communication system has been destroyed, we must escape from the Mine Star as soon as possible and explain everything to the supporting fleet. This is coming at full speed. The invader is a hidden mecha that has never been seen before. It can escape the current investigation network of the Imperial Army. We came across them by chance on the way here. Where is your mothership? Wu Jiao asked. The man pressed his lips tightly, probably, no longer. Sorry. Wait for me in front of the machine on the far left, I'll turn it on. Wu Jiao waited for a long time, but the mecha's eyes suddenly lit up in front of him. The whole machine seemed to be alive, and it was activated part by part in a series of system sounds. Wu Jiao was taken into the inner space of the mecha. This is his first real contact with mechas. He had driven countless times in his dreams before, and when he was really sitting inside, all the blood in his body was still agitated. It's called Yaju. Aju? Wu Jiao asked. Well, Yaju is the name of a famous sword in ancient times. Wu Jiao was pondering the name when he heard Yaju's voice suddenly. The physical condition scan failed to meet the standard. Wu Jiao thought to himself, does this mean he was hurt too badly? Idiot! Wu Jiao saw the people around him slap on the bridge. Hurry up! The mecha replied ruthlessly, the physical condition scan failed to meet the standard. If you don't unlock it anymore, it will smash you. The physical condition scan failed to meet the standard. In the terrible silence, Wu Jiao risked his death and asked, what's the matter? I'm badly injured. The mecha program thinks that it can't go to war, and it's almost certain to die if forced to go out. This is a protection mechanism of it. Then, what should I do now? The people around took a deep breath. I command you to manipulate me. Wu Jiao's fingers stiffened. This kind of thing is a dream, but I never thought it would happen on this occasion. To you. Wu Jiao lowered his eyes to look at the console, only feeling the blood rushing. He suddenly clenched his fists. Okay. I'll come. Have you ever piloted a mech? I often play simulation games. Without any practical experience, just agree so simply? You are so courageous. Wu Jiao has always felt good about himself, believing that he can finally realize all his dreams. He only fell into depression for a long time when he was rejected by the military academy, and then immediately felt that this was just a small episode in his extraordinary life. Maybe it was a destined shortcut. He believes that soldiers should be calm and self-sustaining, so he tries his best to maintain calmness on the outside, but in fact, every day in his heart is like being beaten with blood. The mecha scanned Wu Jiao. The physical condition scan meets the minimum standards. Wu Jiao heard the person next to him say again, set up now. We will use manual voice control to control the mecha later. Brainwave manipulation requires long-term training, and it is absolutely impossible for you to do it now. It is good. The setup program in front of me has been started. Wu Jiao looked at the first step, name input. Wu Jiao uses the keyboard to enter his name, Wu Jiao. After entering the name, I just lifted my finger and felt something was wrong. Turning his head to see, the people beside him were looking at him with an expression of I really saw a ghost. The author has something to say, when attacking and receiving attributes, attack, abnormal O attack. Shao, the chicken soup, the surface is calm, in fact, every day in the heart is like chicken blood. I will copy the chicken soup from the article 10 Tips to Make You an Exquisite Soldier. You guys are ready? What's the matter with you? Wu Jiao asked. Your name is Wu Jiao? The legendary Wu Jiao. Which one? The 99.5% chance of dragging your comrades on the battlefield. It's really me. Isn't the story spread so widely? The soldiers are really enough. After saying this, he found that the person on the other side had another expression of dead this time. Don't worry. Wu Jiao said, I'm just an executor, don't you direct me to manipulate it. I'll just do what you say. Wu Jiao turned his head and stared at the people around him. If you have any other way, I am willing to cooperate with you. If there is no other way, I hope you can believe me. The two have no trust, so what cooperation are they talking about? I see. The other person looked at the screen again. Let's continue, I will direct you. However, I don't believe in you, I believe in myself. What kind of person is this? Mecha has limited energy. Wu Jiao heard the other party say again, need to set. How to set? Wu Jiao looked at the chart on the screen, a little dazed. The operation is very simple. Just assign the points to each attribute according to your needs, and the mecha will automatically sort and supply energy according to the numbers you fill in. Wu Jiao glanced at it and felt as if he was playing a game. After browsing the attribute list, Wu Jiao asked the other party again, how should the points be allocated? The main acceleration and attack. After confirmation, more energy will be input to the engine and the weapon. These two items are what we currently need most. First, kill a few opponents by surprise, and then escape with the fastest speed to defend. Long-lasting, etc. are almost enough, and it has no effect on the purpose at this stage. Okay. Wu Jiao looked over one by one, then, the last item, does IQ matter? Not at all. Wu Jiao easily filled in A0. Are you crazy? No IQ. Wu Jiao suddenly felt puzzled when he heard the drink in this lifetime, you said it doesn't matter at all. The IQ is 0, which means it can't even understand your commands. Then, if you can understand the order, how many points do you need to allocate at least? Why do you want 10? Okay. Wu Jiao filled in 10, subtracted 10 from the other item, and clicked OK. The person next to him exploded again, I haven't finished speaking yet. Wu Jiao was silent, I thought you had finished talking. Your paws are so fast. What will happen then? It's mentally retarded. I have never seen such a dumb mecha. It will only obey the commands you issue. If your response is a little slower, its robotic brain can't even automatically make the most basic responses. Wu Jiao looked at the interface, then reset. There is no way to reset it. After clicking OK, the mecha abilities and personality will be formed, and they will begin to accumulate combat experience, growing and maturing like humans. In order to give them a sense of security, establish the bond between the mecha and the driver, it needs to be reset under certain circumstances, and it is absolutely impossible to kill the robot again anytime and anywhere. Wu Jiao was stunned, so, it will be stupid for a lifetime. Correct. Wu Jiao asked again, what should I do? What else can I do? The other three mechas are far less powerful than it. The other three can only be destroyed. Yes. Spicy pork, Beijing sauce pork, Yuxiang pork, can only be destroyed. Wu Jiao sighed, then you teach me to drive it now. In the next few hours, Wu Jiao learned to operate in a very limited space from walking, running, jumping, lifting into the air, moving in the air, to calling out various weapons, storing energy, aiming, launching, to dodge, shifting. Yezhu has a high degree of autonomy, and Wu Jiao mainly practices voice control, because when he doesn't practice enough, he's bound to become frantic manually. The action is scheduled for midnight, when the enemy has the least force. After setting the automatic detonation of the other three mechas, Yezhu attacked outright. It was ejected from the dedicated orbit, and the silver flash pierced the sky of the mine star. As soon as Wu Jiao went out, he saw several Republic mechas searching nearby. He aimed quickly, and the electromagnetic cannon that had already been charged with energy burst out. Under the acceleration of the magnetic force, the cannonball hit the opponent unexpectedly at an initial speed of 6,000 meters per second. The sound of the explosion broke the silence of the night. The attack power penetrated the target's defense and knocked down the two closest mechas on the land of the mine star. Run away, don't stop. Hearing this voice, Wu Jiao continued to manipulate. He landed on a high cliff, which was the place he had planned before he came out. It was the first time he came into contact with the mecha, and the accuracy of launching an attack in the air was limited. It was best to find a foot and click on a nearby target in the air. Just after landing, two mechas flew over at an extremely fast speed. Wu Jiao's fingertips trembled slightly, and he tried his best to lock onto a new target. A 60 kilowatt laser energy beam was launched. The high-density laser beam burned the material on the surface of the enemy mecha. The material quickly melted and then vaporized. The shock wave formed by the violent vaporization of the material penetrated the target. Material. Wu Jiao continued his attack. It's just that the surface perforation is not enough. Only after the target atoms that have absorbed the laser energy are ionized, the stress wave formed by the expansion of the isolated cloud can break the material of the mecha and completely destroy the metal monsters. However, Wu Jiao failed to do so. The opponent, who was already prepared, deployed the anti-optical system. Special molecules absorb the laser beam, and the energy rapidly attenuates within a short distance. At the same time, the artificially created high temperature of the air and artificially simulated atmospheric turbulence change the density of the air. The thermal blooming and turbulence effects make the laser beam violently dispersion. Under the superposition of various effects, the effectiveness of laser weapons has been reduced dozens of times. This attack was unsuccessful. Change to an electromagnetic gun, the energy is full. The person next to him gave instructions. Wu Jiao immediately switched weapons. When Wu Jiao concentrated on aiming at the two enemies, he suddenly felt a huge shock coming from under the seat, and at the same time there was an unknown loud noise in his ears. At the moment he was hit, Wu Jiao was almost shocked and flew out. Fortunately, the seat belt on his seat locked him firmly. However, because of this, Wu Jiao's head quickly slammed to one side and hit something with a bang. Why is your broken head so hard? Wu Jiao and Ren's heads were knocked so that Venus appeared in front of them, and it took a long time to regain their vision, only to have time to reply to each other. At this time, Yaju planted to the left unexpectedly. It turned out that it was one of its legs that was hit just now. There was almost only one of the two legs that supported it. The right knee was almost broken, and the metal joints were only a little broken, and the lower half of the leg was hanging there, trembling. Yaju was attacked. The attacker was very close to the rear. Wu Jiao sent out two electromagnetic missiles at the moment before his body fell. The two mechas in front deployed their shields and flew upside down for hundreds of meters under the powerful impact. About to fall. Rise into the air to attack. The command came from the cold voice. I won't attack in the air. Air operations are far more difficult than standing on the ground. You can't attack even more on the ground. Why doesn't Wu Jiao know this? Can't lift off, can't get down, can't stay standing. The two electromagnetic missiles have been launched. According to his level, the moment from standing to falling down is not even enough to complete the replacement of weapons, let alone directly blast the opponent behind him. Damn! It would be great if the mecha could stand on one leg. How come no one has thought about this situation? Well, it is indeed unexpected that some people who dare not lift off can participate in the war. And many more. Single leg? At the very moment, Wu Jiao carried out his intentions. He kept pressing the turn button, making Yaju take the leg that was still intact as the axis, and make a few rapid rotations in place, and then violently kicked the broken leg towards the opponent behind him. Pulled by the centrifugal force, the broken leg broke completely with a click, and the heavy lower limbs that flew out hit the opponent. The opponent was obviously unprepared for this move. He was hit by the broken leg and he was unsteady. Fell to the ground. While the rear mecha fell to the ground, the shields deployed by the two mechas in front to defend against electromagnetic guns had not been completely retracted. Wu Jiao pushed the speed to the maximum. The rockets of Yaju lifted off generally left the ground and fled towards the outside of the mine star. The airflow during the liftoff made the vegetation sway from side to side, like ghosts in the dark. Wu Jiao's hands were cold, and he was afraid of being overtaken. However, Yaju's speed advantage was fully utilized at this time. After all, nearly half of the energy was transported here. It's so uncomfortable. Wu Jiao thought to himself, flying straight to the sky at this speed, as expected, the body will be very uncomfortable. What happened to you? Not very comfortable. Are you injured? Didn't you hurt the vital part? Are the thoracic and abdominal cavities okay? What's uncomfortable? My ears are uncomfortable. The imperial general did not say go away after forcibly. He said, now open your mouth and gasp immediately, turn on the internal pressure regulating device of the mecha. Wu Jiao did it one by one. With the help of the pressure regulator, the atmospheric pressure inside and outside the tympanic membrane tended to be the same, and Wu Jiao finally returned to normal. 3,000 meters, 5,000 meters, 8,000 meters, 10,000 meters from the ground. Escaped. After ensuring safety, Wu Jiao couldn't help but exclaimed in excitement, I can do it. I did it. The imperial general stared at Wu Jiao silently for a long time before groaning, what's so good about this? My command can't be wrong. But I didn't act according to your command in the end. Wu Jiao felt that was not suitable for him. The imperial general thought for a while, and finally came to a conclusion, I think it was just because you hit the big luck. After a pause, as if to confirm something, he added, well, there will be no such good thing next time. No. Wu Jiao touched the console, I want to participate in a lot of wars, and I will continue to win. This means that I don't believe it at all. Ajiu, after a few seconds, Wu Jiao heard the people next to him ask, tell me about your condition. Yeju's robotic brain immediately replied, it hurts. Nonsense, you have no nerves, know what pain is. Other aspects, except for losing a leg, everything else is fine. Go back and help you pick up a new one. Okay. The last move to break the leg in a circle must be very funny. The imperial general relaxed a little, Aju, don't you feel embarrassed that he asked you to do something like that? What? I asked, don't you feel embarrassed? Yeju is still that one, hey. The person who asked the question finally gave up, forget it, your IQ is only 10. Obviously, an IQ of 10 will not understand what embarrassment is. Yeju. Wu Jiao over there no longer paid attention to the one Amanonmika dialogue. He carefully recalled and tasted the experience just now, completely immersed in the feeling of manipulating the mecha. What is it like when you give instructions one by one? What is it like when the mecha acts again and again? In the past, I have never had these experiences. During the 1.5 years of mining, Wu Jiao heard about a few miners who later became mecha manufacturers. Wu Jiao felt that it was also good to be a manufacturer, and it seemed that I didn't have to drive mechas. Now, the mentality has all changed. You may not want to do things you haven't done once, but once you have done many things, you will never forget the feeling at that time. He was like a small villager in a primitive village. He accidentally walked outside the village and saw a brightly lit train roaring in the dark night. The shock and yearning could never be erased from his heart. Wu Jiao was instructed to set the autopilot mode. He looked at the people around him and found that the man was slightly frowning his sword eyebrows. Wu Jiao felt the wound pain again after realizing that he relaxed. Are you okay? Wu Jiao asked. The other's gaze swept from the end of his eyes, it's okay. How about you? After reading it seriously, Wu Jiao realized that he was handsome enough to be arrogant, with piercing eyebrows and bright eyes. Wu Jiao had never seen a better-looking person than him. Wu Jiao looked away unnaturally, I'm fine, too. The man seemed to want to make sure, he looked up and down Wu Jiao very carefully, and finally nodded, only there is a big bag on his head. Really? Wu Jiao touched his head. For some reason, Wu Jiao's heart beat twice when he was looked at by the other party just now. I'll contact the support fleet. The imperial officer said, turning on the communicator. Soon, a figure appeared on the screen, a very tall soldier. General Tan Yan. The man didn't seem to see Wu Jiao at all. Are you okay? Tan Yan thought about it for a while, turned his head and asked Wu Jiao, isn't dead but seriously injured, is it good or not? Wu Jiao looked at each other blankly. Talk about Yan? How can it be? It's not like that on TV at all. Tan Yan on TV looks ordinary, but his eyebrows are full of firmness. When giving a speech, he speaks sonorously, gestures a lot, keeps talking, and keeps hands. 2 hands are always flying in the air, as if turning over a flower rope. Wu Jiao also admired this. He felt that the general was worthy of being a general. Even the gestures were so distinctive. This kind of worship was not dispelled until the day when he received the reply. Now, actually telling him that this is Tan Yan in front of him? What's wrong with you? Tan Yan asked. You are General Tan Yan. Are you so excited? How is it possible? Wu Jiao whispered, I have seen a real person on TV. That's not a real person. Tan Yan smiled. Some jobs are not convenient for revealing the true appearance. Wu Jiao guessed like this and lowered his eyes. Now, he kind of understood the reason why his heartbeat speeded up inexplicably when he was stared at just now. They two genetically matched. In gene pairing, the pheromone, which is usually difficult to detect in the smell, is an indicator that cannot be ignored. 2 people with a high matching degree must be attracted to each other in terms of sex, and he and Tan Yan have a very high matching degree, and the score is almost full. This kind of thing is really, it doesn't work if you don't accept it. In this case, you will be tempted. However, Wu Jiao is also very aware of the situation. He has read Tan Yan's reply. The content is very simple, but the meaning is very clear, which is to let him go. The other party clearly looks down on him, and Wu Jiao is not a masochist, so he should never want to have it, because there is no possibility at all. Wu Jiao sighed and made up his mind that his heart would never be beaten again. Over there, Tan Yan had already explained the current situation of Mining Star in great detail. We must be there as soon as possible. The person on the screen said, please go to the base of the Candide Haas galaxy to rest first. The Candide Haas galaxy, as the name suggests, is one arrangement of several planets of the same size, and the spheres are red, looking from a distance, like Candide Haas. Tan Yan nodded. After arriving at the base, Yaju landed on the shelf prepared for it by the base. Come down. Tan Yan stepped on the lifting board. Wu Jiao looked at Yaju reluctantly. He knew that as long as he took a step from here, he would never come back. I have only been with this mech for a short time. It is just a passerby in its long life. It will soon accept a new driving. It is hard to forget that the other person is probably only himself. Wu Jiao felt that he really got along with it. He touched the icy bridge of Yaju with his fingertips, feeling the touch of each button with his fingertips, and wanted to keep that feeling in his heart forever. Finally, Wu Jiao lowered his head and dropped a kiss on the console. Hey, hey. Yaju twisted and said after being kissed, suddenly, it was a bit hot, the circuit was about to blow up. Wu Jiao smiled, goodbye. Yaju. Hey. Goodbye Wu Jiao. Wu Jiao took a final look before turning around and stepping on the lifting board. During this process, Tan Yan kept watching in silence. After entering the base, Tan Yan asked suddenly, do you really want to go to the battlefield? Correct. But you are not suitable at all. Wu Jiao was silent, how can I know if I don't try it? The genetic scan doesn't explain the problem. But, Wu Jiao said on the basis of reason, gene scan said that I have a 0.01% chance of becoming a battle hero. Tan Yan was so choked that he couldn't speak, and it took a long time to say in an incredible tone, how do you interpret that watch everywhere? That is, I have a 0.01% chance of becoming a battle hero. 0.01%. Do you know what is the concept of 0.01%? I know. Wu Jiao replied, but it's still possible. Tan Yan had a headache, so, you joined the army and became a miner. Well, the military academy rejected me, there is no other way. Tan Yan didn't want to argue, so he changed the subject, you have the credit this time, what do you want? You can just speak up. Can you mention any expectations? Okay. Wu Jiao stopped and looked at Tan Yan and said, I want to go to military academy. Tan Yan frowned. Why are you here again? What's the matter with this kid? Wu Jiao repeated another sentence, I want to go to military academy. You change one. That's it, forget it. I want you to change one. Really gone? Wu Jiao said. Tan Yan felt that he really wanted to pinch him. He said, I don't like to owe favors. Wu Jiao didn't know what to do. You can't do what I want. I don't want anything else. You don't have to worry about it. Bullshit. Tan Yan couldn't bear the insult. Who said I couldn't do it? Wu Jiao's eyes lit up, you can do it. Tan Yan hesitated, at present, the imperial education system is independent. The military academy has already rejected you. I can't force the military academy to accept you. However, the military has its own training courses, which usually last for about 1 year. Graduates often participate, which is a shortcut to becoming a military officer. I can say a few words about this. Please let me go there. It's useless for you. Tan Yan looked at Wu Jiao. First, even if you have completed all the courses, you cannot be accepted by the front line at your genetic level. Don't think that the military doesn't look at genes. I'll talk at that time. Wu Jiao bit his lip. This training course must be useful. Yes, for his dream, it must be useful, at least it will be more useful than mining. Tan Yan continued over there, second, not everyone can participate. To take this course, one needs to be recommended, and the other is to pass the exam. Because the participants are generally military school graduates, so there is no more setting up the genetic scan step, as long as the military school teachers believe that their character is reliable and they have proven their strength in the exam, there is no problem. I can recommend you, but you can't pass the exam. Wu Jiao said again, how can I know if I don't try it? Okay, yes. Tan Yan seemed to think Wu Jiao was very sick. Actually, I suggest you ask for something else, such as monetary rewards or a job, which will have a substantial effect on your life. The opportunity is very rare. Are you sure you want to waste like this? Yes. Wu Jiao hasn't recovered from his excitement, please recommend me. Tan Yan replied, just 4 months after the exam, I would like to emphasize that it is impossible to pass the result of your gene and the knowledge of mecha. After speaking, Tan Yan left. Wu Jiao didn't care, and went back to the room arranged for him at the base to rest. There is a fierce battle for the Mind Star. Wu Jiao hopes that the Empire can retake the Mind Star. After all, he is also a soldier there, although he will not go back to mine again. It would take a long time for Mind Star to resume production, and at that time it was time for him to apply for retirement. Wu Jiao couldn't see the battle, so he turned up the celebrity biography. Wu Jiao loves to read biographies of celebrities, and he also records on the Excel table the sentences he finds good, for example, feelings about the country, feelings about family, feelings about friendship, write the emotion of the dream, wait, review it from time to time, and then it makes sense again. While reading happily, Wu Jiao suddenly heard someone knock on the door. He opened the door and saw that it was the base clerk, and there was even Tan Yan, and Yaju. At this time Yaju already had a right leg for temporary use. It looked a bit awkward, but it was better than nothing. At this moment, Yaju has become the size of a human. Because molecules can be reorganized and material density can be changed, mechas in this era do not have to be carried by starships. Since the quality of the mechas will not change, when they become the size of a human, they will open a floating setting to balance most of the gravity, so they will not appear so heavy. What's wrong? Wu Jiao asked. Tan Yan said irritably, it has to be with you. What? Tan Yan explained casually, it has an IQ of only 10, so it's a hard-hearted one. Wu Jiao asked, "What should I do? What else can I do?" It cried and made a lot of noise. Tan Yan said, "It's in the same room with you first, and we are discussing countermeasures." "Oh! Over there," Yaju squeezed in happily. In this case, the clerical officer handed Tan Yan a document. "General, please sign here." After thinking about it, Wu Jiao understood. The latest mechas need to be carefully guarded, and such changes need to be signed by someone. Over there, Tan Yan took the document and wrote the word Tan Yan. The dragon and the phoenix danced, and finally, he drew a big cat after the word Tan Yan. Wu Jiao couldn't help asking, "What is this big cat? What are you asking so much for?" Tan Yan didn't mean to answer at all. After he said, "Throw the pen and walk in the direction," when he came quickly. It should be to observe the situation of the Mind Star battle. Seeing Tan Yan leaving, the clerical officer looked down at Tan Yan's signature. "Actually, I know the reason." "Oh." Wu Jiao couldn't help but gossiping, "What is it?" "That's," the clerical officer said, "that is, on the day the admiral is promoted to general, he will go to the military headquarters to enter his signature as a reference for his signature in the future." "Okay." Then, because he was just promoted, the general was so happy. When entering the signature, he drew a big cat behind his name. Unexpectedly, the person who collected the signature entered it together, and then he signed for the first time. When the system prompts that the signature is incorrect, the general tried many times, and finally found that the big cat must be added. From then on, the general's signature must be accompanied by the big cat. Wu Jiao. Sending off the clerical officer, Wu Jiao closed the door. He looked at Yaju and felt extremely happy. Just a minute ago, he thought he would never see Yaju again. "That, Yaju," Wu Jiao said, "I'm so tired. I want to sleep." "Oh." Yaju replied, "Then, I want to sleep too." "Does the mecha also need to sleep?" Not sure about this question, Wu Jiao had to reply vaguely, "Well, good." After that, he lay on the bed against the wall. As soon as he lay down against the wall, he felt his back jabbed. Wu Jiao turned around. Yaju looked at him and asked, "Where is my pillow?" "Pillow?" Yes, Wu Jiao gave it a pillow in a daze. "Mecha, what do you want this for?" Yaju neatly arranged the pillows, and then asked Wu Jiao, "Where is my quilt?" Wu Jiao found another bed and was given it. Then, after Wu Jiao stared at Yaju who was curled up on the pillow for a long time, he finally realized a problem. Yaju thinks it is a person. Wu Jiao looked at Yaju blankly. Yaju sat up and adjusted the pillow and quilt, as if he wanted to make him more comfortable, then lay down again and closed his eyes. The mecha's IQ was too low, and Wu Jiao was a little angry. After Wu Jiao slept, he heard that the Empire had regained the mining star. The people of the Republic found the secret base, but only found 3 mechas that had already blew themselves up. Just when they were preparing to search for the mining star further, the Imperial support forces arrived, and it didn't take long for them to take the initiative. Afterwards, the Empire began to count the list of the dead. Wu Jiao did not see Donovan on the list. He managed to escape into the nearest mine when he wanted to come. As for the others, Wu Jiao saw 2 teammates on the same team. Seeing the names on the death list, Wu Jiao remembered that these 2 men had children. They worked thousands of light years away and looked forward to leaving the army day and night. He never expected one day to meet a guest and die in another country. Wu Jiao sighed. People familiar with him suffered misfortune overnight, and he was very shocked in his heart. He can only hope that the Empire can arrange their families properly. Because Mind Star dealt with the wounded, no one had the time to take care of Wu Jiao for several days. Wu Jiao saw some people were sent in, and some people were sent out after healed. Don't want to cause trouble to the busy people at the base, so Wu Jiao and Yaju stay in the room obediently every day. There is a TV in the room. Wu Jiao doesn't watch it very much. He only looks at the 80th edition of Journey to the West every night. Wu Jiao feels that the story of the four masters and apprentices overcoming the 981 difficulties and finally reaching the right fruit and becoming a Buddha is very beautiful. As for normal times, Yaju is basically watching. Yaju likes dog blood dramas, immersed in it from time to time, feeling the joys and sorrows in the drama, but he can't find the obvious logical loopholes. Wu Jiao could tell that Yaju's robotic brain had simple common sense, which was given by the program, but Wu Jiao's IQ was only assigned 10. Hey! Sometimes I will sigh with emotion when watching TV, can I match a suitable partner in the future? Wu Jiao. He was a little hard to imagine, how sad if Tian Yaju found out that he was not an individual. I saw Tan Yan again, 2 weeks later. At this time, Tan Yan's injuries have all healed, and every move is particularly eye-catching. In fact, on the day they arrived at the base, when Tan Yan sent Yaju, the injury had healed a lot. What's the matter? Wu Jiao asked. Get ready and return to Capital Star tomorrow. Tan Yan paused, then said again, in addition, we already have a consensus on how to deal with Yaju. Wu Jiao only felt breathless, what is it? Forcibly switch to another driving. It must be crying at first, and it will be better in a few days, and in a few years, your name will have no special meaning to it. Wu Jiao smiled bitterly, I agree. His future is completely uncertain, he must not delay Yaju, Yaju should flash. We tried our best not to format it, so we changed the driver for it. Tan Yan said again. Okay. The first reason I said before. I don't format mechas arbitrarily. There are strict regulations on this point. Without this rule, mecha robot brains will feel uneasy, making it impossible to fully exert their combat power. Yes, you said it. The second reason is that formatting is a wasteful operation, and resetting the energy distribution system will also reduce the service life of the mecha. We generally do not tend to replace the core hardware. Oh. Wu Jiao asked, so, under what circumstances will it be formatted? The most common situation is the death of a mecha driver. The reason I say this is, Tan Yan said in a rare comforting sentence, Yaju won't forget you. Yet. Wu Jiao lowered his eyes, thank you, I'm fine, it wouldn't belong to me in the first place. Separation is something that is destined to happen. Wu Jiao knew this from the first second of becoming the driver of Yaju. No matter how many common experiences the two of them have in common, there is only one in the end. However, even after such a long preparation, Wu Jiao's dissatisfaction in his heart when this incident really happened did not reduce a single cent. Back in the room, Wu Jiao told Yaju that he was going back to Capital Star. He didn't tell Yaju about changing the driver, he hoped to extend the happiness as much as possible for a while. Wu Jiao and Yaju shared some of his favorite books, such as The Things You Must Not Want in Life, Know Yourself, 7 Bad Habits, You Are Doomed to Failure. Prayer can help Yaju become strong, and in the danger is turned into a breeze again and again. During the whole process, Yaju always leaned on Wu Jiao lightly, watching Wu Jiao highlight the key points. Sometimes, when Yaju was reading, Wu Jiao would watch it quietly. A few times Yaju found out, and said in a very convulsive manner, what are you doing peeking at me? Every time at this time, Wu Jiao would smile helplessly. The day after the conversation, they returned to Capital Star. Wu Jiao was temporarily arranged to live in a corner of the military dormitory. The military department thought Wu Jiao would only stay for a few days. Yaju was quickly taken away from Wu Jiao. Wu Jiao asked Tan Yan, don't tell Yaju first, because Yaju definitely can't accept this. After they discussed it, they decided that after Yaju found a driver he liked each other, Wu Jiao would explain to him so that Yaju could feel better. After all, the new driver also liked each other. Therefore, Yaju didn't know what was going to happen, but was led to meet many people. Wu Jiao originally thought that Yaju would never come back, but the fact is that it would return to Wu Jiao every night. After this state lasted for 2 weeks, Tan Yan came to Wu Qiao's room again. This matter is a bit troublesome. What's the matter? Wu Qiao asked. Yezhu is too stupid, no one wants it. How is it possible? Yezhu is so strong that it can be separated from the heavy obstacles. Tan Yan also seemed to be a little irritable over there. The fact is, they would rather wait for the new mecha than directly accept Yezhu. Thinking of the phrase hello everyone, my name is Yezhu. On the first day when Yezhu saw everyone, Tan Yan felt that his head was 3 times bigger, and everyone present at the time felt that it was not reliable. Pu, no one dared to give his life to that dong dong. So, Wu Qiao asked again, what should I do? He had a little expectation in his heart, hoping that Tan Yan would continue to find a suitable driver, so that he could get along with Yezhu for a while. Tan Yan looked away. It can only be checked. The grid. Hearing this, Wu Qiao was only panicked. You once said, it's not easy to format. Crow 9 must have a driver. It is the latest mecha. Since no one wants to receive it, it is the only way to remove it. Oh! Wu Qiao felt his heart sinking deeper and deeper, pressing on the diaphragm between his chest and abdomen, causing pain in his internal organs. The focus of his eyes drifted a little bit, and when he saw the wall behind Tan Yan, he felt dazzling. Yezhu watched dog blood dramas every day, and always looked forward to the future, constantly fantasizing about its future. Now, it was about to be formatted, turning into a new Yezhu he didn't know at all. Wu Qiao tried hard to think, how can Yezhu save this bad luck? After all, Yezhu trusts and relies on him so much. Admiral. After a moment, Wu Qiao clenched his fists and stared into the opponent's eyes. Then the 1-year military training course, those who successfully graduated will be qualified for driving in organic armor, right? Almost. Tan Yan nodded, they will all become imperial officers. So, have you ever thought about, if other mechas and pilots know that the pilot that Yezhu himself identified is clearly alive, and he has also applied for the military training course to get the qualification to drive it, but the military is tough, make the Crow 9 squares and redistribute all the points. Isn't that good? Listening to what you said before, all mechas are afraid that they will be zeroed, and, if other mechas talk nonsense to it in the future, how should it affect its state? Tan Yan frowned. It sounds not unreasonable. Every time a mecha is dropped, the movement is still quite big. Smart mechas are annoying at this point. They have the ability to think independently. Wait, what's wrong? After reading that sentence in his heart, Tan Yan finally knew what was wrong, but you can't pass the military training course. That is not the point at all. Wu Qiao continued to persuade, the point is that you completely ignore the wishes of both him and the pilot, and kill the mecha to solve all problems. Since you are sure that I can't pass the exam, why can't you wait another 3 months? When I lose the ranking, you can justify it. Before that, the military can continue to look for people who are willing to accept the Crow 9 directly. If you find it, you can avoid the loss of the life of the mecha. Wu Qiao didn't think that he would get Crow 9 by passing the exam. What he thinks is that after 3 months of delay, Ajiu should be able to find a new driver during these 3 months, a person who thinks Ajiu is very suitable for him. Wu Qiao doesn't think that Crochu is not suitable for fighting, on the contrary, in Wu Qiao's heart, it is the strongest. You. Tan Yan changed the subject over there, are you really planning to take the exam? Okay. Your thoughts are so strange. Tan Yan looked at Wu Qiao, take a sum of money, then go home, buy whatever you want, isn't it good to live happily? No, Wu Qiao replied. People must have some ideals to reward the world. Ease and pleasure are not the purpose of life. Einstein called this the ideal of pigsty. That's because he is Einstein. Wu Qiao shook his head and said nothing. Tan Yan really wanted to shake his neck to wake him up. Why doesn't this guy have any consciousness of being a waste wood? Over Yezhu. Wu Qiao hesitated and opened his mouth again. Listen to you, wait 3 months, after all, you brought it back. After this conversation, Yaju was still often taken out for a stroll. Wu Jiao also temporarily stayed at the military headquarters. Originally, the military department wanted to drive Wu Jiao out, but Yaju cried and howled again. Usually, what Wu Jiao mainly does is to use software to simulate mecha battles. However, I want to know that this will not work. Only one experience of actually manipulating the mecha is not enough. Wu Jiao felt worried. He must pass that exam, for himself and for Yaju. In case Crow 9 still fails to find a new driver, it will be formatted in 3 months. If you pass the exam by yourself, at least there is still room for maneuver. Yaju saw that Wu Jiao was not happy, and asked, "What the is wrong with you?" Wu Jiao looked at it and smiled, "I need to manipulate the real mecha." Oh! Then Yaju didn't speak for 3 whole days. After sitting blankly against the wall for 3 days, it suddenly jumped up and ran out quickly. Wu Jiao chased him out, but did not see Yaju, but received an order. According to the order, after 7 p.m., you can go to the D practice field to let Yaju do some simple actions, but all the weapons will be locked, and there will be another senior pilot to accompany. What did you do? As soon as he saw Yaju come back to Wu Jiao, he went to ask him. I said, I seem to have forgotten how I should walk when I was a normal size. They were all scared by me, afraid that I would not be able to use it in the future. They said that the IQ was only 10. They agreed to let me go for a walk at night. Wu Jiao thought silently that the army must be troubled by this situation. Let him touch Yaju again, it can be said to be a bold decision. Who made the decision? That Tan Yan. Hey! He said, you've touched me a long time ago, and you've seen it everywhere. Yaju was a little shy when he said this. Yaju, Wu Jiao suddenly looked at it with some worry, no one wants you, what should you do? Another month has passed, and no one dared to use Yaju. Hey! Yaju asked with some puzzlement, Wu Jiao, don't you want me? Me? Wu Jiao showed a wry smile, of course I will want you. Hearing Wu Jiao's answer, Yaju seemed very happy. It didn't notice Wu Jiao's anxiety. He laughed for a few seconds there, and then asked Wu Jiao, do I have to take that exam too? I don't think so. Wu Jiao thought for a while, probably a unified batch of mechas will be used for the test. Oh! Then, if you can bring your own mecha, you must notify me. Know it. Maybe I'm going to help you take the exam. Yaju lay in the quilt, and after a while he lifted the quilt. Wu Jiao, I can't sing in the exam, right? This is my weakness, I need to advance. Practice. Won't take the exam. Unless Tan Yan, who is in charge of this thing, is a pervert. Hey, that's fine. Yaju let out a long sigh of relief, and added after thinking about it, there are still some things that I can't do well. Okay, Wu Jiao comforted it, don't worry about that, you will be fine. Oh. Then I'll take a break, Wu Jiao. Okay. Yaju closed his eyes and said softly, by the way, Wu Jiao. Today, when I was taken to General Tan Yan, I saw his new mecha. Oh. Wu Jiao asked with interest. What kind of? Wu Jiao knew that the mecha before Tan Yan had been beaten into a pile of powder on Mining Star. Very prestigious. Yaju replied, it's called Long Yuan. I heard that, like me, it is also a famous sword in ancient times. The original name of the sword is 7-star Long Yuan. Wu Jiao smiled, do you want to compare it with it? See who is better than you. Competition. Yaju revealed a trace of doubt, no, I don't want to. I want to fight with it. Wu Jiao froze for a moment, and smiled randomly, yes, fight side by side. Wu Jiao. Yaju said again, so can you, before I retire, can you play with the general? I can't hold on for too long. Wu Jiao didn't even react for a while. Later he realized that Yeju didn't understand anything. It can feel that its driving is a waste of firewood, and it can feel the huge gap between its own driving and the driver of Long Yuan. Actually, Wu Jiao asked tentatively, maybe, if the manipulator is not me, you can quickly achieve your goal. Wu Jiao wanted to inquire, if someone is willing to accept, would Yeju be shaken, instead of giving up? Erdi directly refused to change driving. Yeju thought Wu Jiao had no confidence, and after a long silence, he pulled the quilt, forget it, I'll just forget about Long Yuan. After finishing speaking, it learned the way it was on TV and covered its eyes with the quilt. To prevent others from seeing it crying, it seems that it does not have any tear ducts. Hearing this, Wu Jiao was actually quite surprised. Yeju never made any request to him. This was the only time he had said what he expected. After Wu Jiao hinted that he might not be able to do it, Yeju was so planning to give up and did not even consider breaking up the group to find someone else. I am teasing you. Wu Jiao said, you believe me, you will fight with Long Yuan in the future. Okay. Saying hello to Yeju, Wu Jiao wanted to thank Tan Yan, but he didn't see anyone. I was thinking about talking about it later, but Tan Yan took the initiative to come to Wu Jiao's room before Wu Jiao took Yeju to the training ground. When Yeju saw Tan Yan, he jumped to the door, looking left and right. He didn't see anything other than Tan Yan, and walked back disappointed. Hi. Wu Jiao said hello. How is Yeju? Tan Yan's focus was not on Wu Jiao at all. It's pretty good. Wu Jiao replied, I just need to take a walk. Well, this has been approved. Tan Yan looked around the room, and finally froze the video that Wu Jiao was watching. It was an analysis of a certain battle under his command. Tan Yan looked at the row of playlists on the left side of the screen again. Recently, he watched almost all things related to him, analysis of various battles, as well as electronic magazine column articles. Tan Yan squinted his eyes and asked, are you my big fan? Although it was a question, the tone was very positive. It seemed that the fact that Wu Jiao was obsessed with him made him very useful. Wu Jiao felt that there was nothing to hide, and said honestly, I like your fighting content very much. Your vision is not bad. Exactly. Wu Jiao opened the electronic screen on the desktop. This battle, there is a place I can't figure out your intentions. Where? Wu Jiao pointed to the screen. This is the formation. This. Tan Yan lowered his eyes. This is a chapped formation. At that time, we only had 5 fleets, but the enemy had a full 10. I placed all the starships in the front row horizontally so that all the starships are on one side. Cannonballs can be fired at once, focusing all the firepower to attack. The firepower is much heavier than using only the weapons directly in front of the starship. Of course, in this case, the front row of starships will be attacked with a wider area and will be easily defeated, so the rear the starships are lined up in a vertical row. In this way, because of the layers of occlusion, the starships behind will not be attacked. When appropriate, they can disperse at the fastest speed to form a second wave of attacks against the enemy. It turned out to be like this. As soon as I explained it, I understood everything. Wu Jiao lifted his head, his gaze shifted from the screen on the table to the general's face. At this time, Tan Yan was also looking at Wu Jiao, with the look of each other's eyes, and the sharpness and arrogance inside. Wu Jiao felt inexplicably awkward. Tan Yan stared at Wu Jiao for a long time, and suddenly asked a weird question. I said, how many people do you deserve? Hey! How many people does it deserve? Tan Yan became impatient. Gene pairing. Tan Yan didn't know why he had to ask such a question. However, if even one waste can be allocated to N, including himself, Tan Yan feels really unacceptable. I am only worthy of being a waste, but it is just one of many choices of waste. Fu Chai sent a letter to harass him once, thinking that he would continue to struggle after rejecting him, but he didn't expect, Wu Jia really never mentioned it again. It's illogical. I'm obviously such a good person. So, that guy deserves a lot of people, and even some of them are very good, so I don't care about myself. The guess is getting clearer and I feel very unhappy. Tan Yan's intensified problem caused Wu Jiao to have a little fever on his face. What couldn't be denied was that Tan Yan felt more comfortable when he heard that Wu Jiao had no other choice. Why do you suddenly ask about this? Wu Jiao asked again. It's okay. Tan Yan looked at Wu Jiao. I remembered that you sent me a letter. Please forget it. Wu Jiao said seriously, it was sent by my sister in my name. I never thought about combining with you. What? That's it. Wu Jiao's black hair shook lightly. I didn't mean that. I don't know why, the general was slightly hit. Wu Jiao was the first and only person who sent him a letter expressing his interest and asking for a date, but now he told him, this matter was actually a misunderstanding. What's wrong? Wu Jiao asked again. It's okay, Tan Yan looked at the screen on the table again, I think it's too early for you to study tactics now. Even the military academy hasn't even been to the military academy, so are you studying the commanding fleet? It's always good to be prepared long ago. Wu Jiao extinguished the screen. Also, although I also want to practice manipulating mechas, I finally got my second chance until today. Tan Yan looked at Wu Jiao and suddenly said, take Yeju to the D practice range. Okay. I will go there too. Ah? You too? Wu Jiao was a little surprised. I will look at you today. To prevent you from breaking Yeju. Tan Yan intends to give some pointers when he is in a good mood, although this is actually a bit of a violation of the regulations. Tan Yan still didn't think Wu Jiao could pass the exam, but since Wu Jiao wanted to work hard, it seemed okay to give him a little effort. Otherwise, it would be too pitiful to be headless. Wu Jiao and Tan Yan once again boarded Yeju. After a series of driving identity verification, the Crow 9 program was officially launched. Driving, Wu Jiao, identity verification is complete. Before maneuvering the mech, identity authentication is a necessary step. After confirming the identity, the mecha will respond to the driver's commands through motion, voice, and even brain waves. Just like firearms and swords, a mecha usually has only one pilot, and the two sides are like partners, cooperating with each other over the years to face the enemy together on the battlefield. Unlike resetting the energy distribution system, as long as the mecha agrees, its driver can be replaced at will. As long as the new information is entered, the mecha will not lose life due to this. However, in general, the original configuration is the most suitable, because the attributes and styles of the mecha are all set by the first pilot according to his needs. There are also cases where the mecha wants to change the driver but the request cannot be met. The former driver once died in the mecha. Countless examples in the past have proved that if the driver dies in the mecha, even if the driver is replaced, the mecha may not be able to exert its original power. In this case, formatting it or directly retiring it is the best choice. This set of solutions is a tradition formed after the widespread use of smart mechas. Smart mechas were put into use 200 years ago. At the beginning, they were criticized from all levels. However, with the evolution and improvement of smart mechas, various oppositions became less and less until they disappeared, because human brain functions are ultimately limited. And the computing power and inference ability of the machine brain is almost infinite, and it can do things that the human brain cannot. At present, the driver's command priority is absolutely higher than that of the mecha, that is to say, when the driver issues a command, the mecha must execute it and absolutely cannot make its own claim. Mechas can only give opinions and suggestions, or provide supplementary functions when the pilot cannot take care of them. However, some scholars and military generals now believe that the army should trust the machine more and put some fully automatic mechas on the battlefield. The role they play is unquestionable, but the shortcomings also exist. The most obvious is that because all the orders of the mecha are based on calculations, the enemy can more easily guess the actions of these fully automatic mechas and block them. People with fighting talents often make unexpected moves to win the victory. Looking at the row of command keys that he had kissed and thought he would never touch again, Wu Qiao was very moved. By mistake, he is still the driver of Crochu, which makes him dizzy with happiness, but after all, the origin of this happiness is unknown, and it seems that there is no way out. Ye Zhuyi started to walk honestly, but after seeing Wu Qiao, he didn't give any instructions. He jumped and jumped there. It doesn't look like you can't remember how to walk, Tan Yan said in a whisper. Hey! Ye Zhu was nervous and cautiously said, I remember a little now. Humph! Admiral Tan Yan. Ye Zhu asked, Long Yuan, does it know my name? Do not know. Then, how can I let it discover my existence? Difficult. Tan Yan said ruthlessly, it is not interested in things other than hacking people. Ye Zhu struggled for a long time, but still couldn't find any common ground between know yourself and cut people. For a long time, he had to give up, and a trace of melancholy appeared in his heart. After taking a look at Tan Yan, Wu Qiao asked, apart from walking, what else should I do? Do you want to practice something else? Yes, 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 Ye Zhu echoed, I want to start walking, but I forgot about other things. Tan Yan said, you two don't go too far. Wu Qiao, don't forget that you are not qualified to drive a mech. Oh! Wu Qiao thought to himself, why didn't he say that he was not qualified when he was a mine star? Qualification is round or square, as if it all depends on the other party's preference. Forget it. A few seconds later, Tan Yan pretended to give in, it's okay to practice some other movements. Hey! Wu Qiao's eyes lit up. Not everyone has the opportunity to give Tan Yan Oneonon coaching. I don't want to delay its time in vain. It's okay to start training now, so that if it has a new driver, it can be thrown on the battlefield as soon as possible. However, I will only let it conduct the most regular training. Don't expect you to what great things have been learned. Okay, thank you. Wu Qiao felt that even with the same knowledge, Tan Yan would have said it would be better. What do you want it to practice first? Wu Qiao thought for a while, dodge? If the enemy's weapon locks you, what can you do to not be hit? Wu Qiao felt that not being hit is the most basic, and then he can find a way to attack. Although it doesn't sound very passionate, this is a modern war. Okay. Tan Yan explained, there are mainly 4 methods. First, maneuver dodge, that is to say, use the driver's technology to get rid of, which is becoming more and more difficult to achieve. The initial speed of ordinary shells it is getting faster and faster. In the past artillery era, explosives were used for launching. The initial speed of the cannonball was 2000 meters per second, which was the limit. It hovered around 1800 over the years. No matter how the dose was increased, it was the same. So you read the previous books and videos. The pilots are often brave and shuttle through the sky, but now, it is almost impossible. Laser weapons are all light speed. The initial speed of electromagnetic guns using coils or meteor rails can reach 6000 meters per second. Physical evasion is already very difficult. If you want to flash, it is best to predict in advance. The same is true for tracking missiles. The speed is getting faster and faster, and it is difficult for mechas to get rid of it. 95% of them may be hit by it. It is no longer the era when several tracking missiles can be thrown away in a war. If you want to maneuver to dodge, don't drive as fast as most people teach you, because no matter how fast you are, you cannot escape beyond its sensing range. On the contrary, it will make you less flexible when turning. My suggestion is to lower the speed, run at a speed that just won't be caught up by it, and then use the terrain and other advantages to deal with it until it runs out of fuel and falls by itself. Of course, you have a way to make it crash into something else. Things are better. Wu Qiazi listened carefully and nodded in agreement from time to time. The second method is technical evasion. Tanyan Yudao, we have a lot of technology to use, which requires a very fast driving response. For electromagnetic guns, we have interception systems, and for laser weapons, we have anti-optical systems. For infrared tracking missiles, we use thermal decoys to interfere with infrared detection, and for radar tracking missiles, we use the method of throwing metal pieces. Third, expand the shield to reduce damage. Tan Yan continued, now mechas have shields, and they can reduce damage. Then, what about the fourth? Wu Jiao couldn't think of it. In addition to the 3 points just now, there was any way to dodge the attack. Fourth. Tan Yan said coldly, abandon the armor and parachute, save your dog's life. Abandon a parachute, save your life? Wu Jiao studied seriously, and asked, just like you were in Mining Star, right? Tan Yan. He really wanted to wash away this memory of Wu Jiao. This was Tan Yan's most failed day, and it was Waste Chai who rescued him in the end. Okay, Wu Jiao said, just 4 o'clock, I understand. You understood? Okay. You know what a shit. Wu Jiao had just said abandoning armor to parachute to save your dog's life and could not refute it. The general was very upset at the moment. If you don't believe it, we can do a practice now to see if you understand it. Exercise. Correct. There are devices on the training field that can randomly launch simulated shells and missiles. They do not have any substantial destructive ability. They will only make a sound when they hit the target and display the picture when the target is hit on the screen. Finally, the score is automatically calculated, and the scores of the pilot and mecha in this simulated battle are given. Before the start, Wu Jiao asked Tan Yan, can battle music be played in the mecha? Wu Jiao felt that it was quiet and not enough to burn. It was the first time that Wu Jiao went to the training ground to train. He was majestic and protruding from the left to the right, but he remained silent, which was far from the effect he wanted. Tan Yan's eyelids twitched, nothing. Oh. Wu Jiao said, let's forget it. If you want music, you need to bring your own equipment. Tan Yan kindly gave a plan. It's not that such people don't have their own equipment, every time they play in battle, they bring their own equipment and play strange music there. Okay, I remember. After a series of activation sounds, Wu Jiao controlled Ye Zhigong to fly into the sky. As a result, within less than 5 seconds, he was bombarded. Things crossed and dazzlingly crossed in front of me, various beams and soft shells flew from all directions, the electronic sound that was hit kept beating, and the pictures on the screen kept changing like a revolving lantern. Wu Jiao was simply divided. It's not clear where exactly was hit. It's miserable. Tan Yan sighed. Wu Jiao. It's not right. He felt that he should complete the simulation very well, and then smiled puzzledly at Tan Yan next to him, and said, why does this seem to be very simple, not the same as what I saw on TV? You have to pay attention to observation, not to act randomly. Tan Yan played back the video just now. First of all, you have to pay attention to the fact that there are many beams and shells that are not threatening to you, just like on the battlefield. You have to be able to distinguish what can hit you, but make a reasonable choice. Secondly, you must be able to see what types of threatening weapons are, consider how to combine mobile evasion, technical evasion, etc., and grasp the time to complete the shuttle mission as soon as possible. Oh! A few more times, it's still the same. Tan Yan had a bad temper and was finally ignited at this moment. Stop. Okay. I can't watch it anymore. Just stay by yourself. I'm just wasting time here. I'm not too idle to waste time yet. Oh. Tan Yan stepped on the lifting board to leave Yeju, but before walking out of the training ground, he adjusted the training system to 12 o'clock before shutting down. He didn't understand why he left this training system to Wu Jiao. He just vaguely knew that he wanted to see which step he could do with his belief that he would be the 0.01% waste. Strictly speaking, he shouldn't agree to Wu Jiao's practice, but, anyway, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal to upgrade from walking to left and right jumping. This point of authority is still available. Yiju does need training, and it only allows Wu Jiao to sit in it. Otherwise, you will hang yourself by crying, making trouble, and hanging yourself. Watching Tan Yan leave, Wu Jiao sighed. It seems that this thing is still quite difficult to learn. However, what Wu Jiao believes most is the sentence that there is a will. He also posted this sentence on the wall. Naturally, he would not be immediately negatively depressed after being hit. He manipulated Yiju, constantly challenging the system, and practiced until the system shut down at 12 o'clock. Finally, he couldn't be so embarrassed anymore. What Wu Jiao didn't know was that afterwards, nearly 12 o'clock, Tan Yan had come back again, but he didn't approach him. He just watched quietly there for a while and then turned and left. Back to the dormitory, it is already 12:30. Wu Jiao looked at Yiju, who had become the size of a human again, and said in a low voice, "Yiju, are you okay?" "What? Tired?" "Not tired." Wu Jiao just remembered that the mecha should not be tiring. He thought for a while, then said, "I'm sorry." "What? You seem to be very depressed." "It's not because of you." Yiju replied, "For newcomers, your performance should be considered normal, right? Although I don't know too much, I am frustrated because Long Yuan, it is only interested in hacking people, then what should I do? Help him chop?" Maybe it is." Yiju wrapped the quilt and hugged the pillow, seeming to be really very upset. Wu Jiao called up the computer and was about to write a diary. The ID he used to record this online diary was Serious Man. When Su Yuking saw this ID, his friend Su Yuking laughed backwards and laughed at Wu Jiao for half a year. Wu Jiao has the habit of keeping a diary, especially after being rejected by the military academy. He is still sticking to the original ideal. He wants to write down all the hardships that were not foreseen on this road. Then, when the ideal is realized, he will look through it again when he is honorably discharged as a soldier. He must have a lot of emotions. It will be the best moment of his life. Wu Jiao felt that the most beautiful moment of don't give up would never be the time to stick to this path, but when the goals were achieved one by one, looking back on the past, thinking of the seemingly insurmountable obstacles and that time and time again. The cynicism of the people around me recalled my determination to persevere every time. I patted my chest and secretly rejoiced and thanked God. Fortunately, I didn't give up at the time. After Wu Jiao finished his diary, it was 1 o'clock in the night. His mind still couldn't calm down, and all that came and went were shots of driving mechas. Wu Jiao recalled the process of every dodge training, what was the situation at the time, why he was hit, how should he avoid the attack, and then, unconsciously, began to reconstruct in his mind, imagining that he did it well. In the challenging scene, I sketched his beautiful posture over and over again, thinking, while burning, and feeling a little ashamed. After all, the actual situation is completely opposite. However, no one knows his imagination, what is in his head anyway. He is alone. Slowly, Wu Jiao was sleepy. In the midst of being confused, ups and downs, there was still a battle net woven with light beams and shells. He dodged lightly in it until he fell asleep completely. In his dream, he was still instructing Yajifei on this side, on the fly side, up and down, left and right, all night. From this day on, Wu Jiao will go to the training ground every day, and he will start the armor in the same dream at night. When he was training, Tan Yan would sometimes appear suddenly, out of nowhere, completely unpredictable, just like that person's emotions. After getting along for so long, Wu Jiao also understood Tan Yan a little bit. Wu Jiao felt that Tan Yan was actually a good person and helped him a lot, but he was so nasty, he always seemed to be very odd, and the most odd thing was that he always gave people a kind of "I'm so odd, but you can't beat me again, so I don't care." Wu Jiao carefully remembered all the instructions given by Tan Yan, and he also increasingly discovered that Tan Yan had a lot of his own ideas about fighting. Tan Yan's handsome and beautiful 5-star general uniform was indeed only envied by others. Portion. In 2 months, Wu Qiao's evasion technique got better and better, and he could finally complete most of the tasks and successfully fly to the end. At the same time, he also conducted some simulated shooting training, using the same ordinary beams and fake shells, and the system determines the attack effect. In the beginning, Wu Jiao would only stand on the ground to attack. As long as he rose to midair, more than 95% of his attacks would be ineffective. Later, Wu Jiao finally understood step by step how to use Crowju to calculate distance, calculate the resistance and gravity in the atmosphere at that time. Thereby improving the hit rate of the attack. It also knows more clearly when to launch unguided weapons and when to launch guided weapons. He and Yaju cooperated more and more tacitly. Wu Jiao really couldn't understand why no one else would accept Yaju. That's right, Yaju still didn't find the driver. No matter who it is, as long as he sees Yaju and thinks of confronting it with him, he is afraid. That's it. After 2 months of busy work, the exam finally came. Just as Wu Jiao expected, Yaju was not allowed to be taken into the examination room, so he could only watch from the outside. There were a total of 30 people who came to take the exam, and in the end only 10 people could be admitted, receive extremely rigorous training, and become the reserve force of the imperial military officers. What surprised Wu Jiao was that he found someone he knew among these test takers. Sheng Zhongguang. Sheng Zhongguang was a roommate in the first 2 years of Wu Qiao Junior High School, and the relationship between the two has always been very good. Sheng Zhongguang was extremely smart. He passed high school without going to the final year of junior high school. After a year of high school, he skipped another grade. In Wu Qiao's sophomore year, Sheng Zhongguang had already gone to military academy. At that time, everyone was shocked to know that he went to the military school, including Wu Jiao, because Sheng Zhongguang was very courageous, afraid of death and injury, and would cry when he saw blood. It is said that it was because he was too good and because he was different from others when he was a child. And being bullied, formed that kind of cowardly character. He was deaf in both ears when he was in elementary school. The doctor said it was because he closed himself up and didn't want to hear any malicious words. I would see him here. Shocked, Wu Jiao heard the other party shout in surprise, "Wu Jiao! Hi!" Wu Jiao said hello. "Why are you here?" Wu Jiao briefly talked about Mining Star and asked Tan Yan to recommend him. In the end, he turned around and said, "You graduated? We were all surprised when you went to the military academy." Wu Jiao said. "Oh, that." Sheng Zhongguang was a little bit embarrassed. "Actually, I just want to practice courage." "What?" "My parents said I was too timid. I think about it like that. I'm afraid of hurting myself and everything. I always ask if it is dangerous. It's too conservative and it's not good. I feel like I'm going to do nothing in the end, so at that time, I plan to train myself. After graduating from the military academy, I will stay in the army for 5 years and come out as a man." "Oh!" Wu Jiao was stunned. "As a result, I didn't expect. After 4 years in the military academy, I still didn't practice. I was afraid of enlisting, but I didn't want to give up again. I heard that the officer will be an officer at the end of this course. I think it will be a little safer than ordinary soldiers. After completing the training, it's not particularly dangerous. After 5 years of military service, it will change more or less." Wu Jiao couldn't help laughing when he heard this. Just as he was about to say something, Wu Jiao saw a triad-like man approaching, with a bald head, a bright head, and his eyes as big as copper bells, and he was still protruding outward. "Who is this?" Wu Jiao asked. I don't know, parents, it's really scary, how did you get in? As soon as the voice fell, the man took off his jacket and set it aside, revealing the military uniform inside. I am the chief examiner this time. Wu Jiao. Sheng Zhongguang. The man continued, the exam will start in 15 minutes. It is worth mentioning that you have worked hard and General Tan Yan has come to observe it for an unprecedented time. I'll make an explanation for the exam first. The chief examiner continued, there will be a round of written exams in the morning and practical assessments in the afternoon. The top 15 scores will enter the final round, and 10 will be selected after the interview. Wu Jia remembered one by one in his heart. The examiner paused, then said again, there is nothing incomprehensible, right? Now enter the room and wait for the topic. Wu Jiao squeezed what was in his pocket. That is a button. Yesterday, when Wu Jiao was in the last training session, a button on Tan Yan's military uniform fell off and rolled next to Wu Jiao. Wu Jiao bent over and picked it up, took it in his hand and took a closer look. He found that even the workmanship was very delicate, the surrounding lace shone with luster, the pattern in the middle was the emblem of the empire, and it was the admiral's clothes as expected. At that time, Wu Jiao was holding the button and suddenly said something inexplicably, tomorrow, will you lend me a day? Tan Yan was stunned over there, what? Wu Jiao replied, it's just a superstition on our side. Using someone's pen and ink, swords, etc., can borrow a little bit of that person's strength. Tan Yan touched his military uniform, and the button on his chest pocket that was closest to the heart was no longer there. Take it away, you don't have to pay it back. Give it to me. Wu Jiao was a little confused. Is Tan Yan sick? Looking at Wu Jiao with his eyes wide open, Tan Yan reluctantly explained, I just nailed another one. Oh. Wu Jiao clenched the button tightly, but thought that one day, I will also become an admiral of the empire. When his thoughts came back, Wu Jiao followed the other candidates into the room, turned on the computer, and soon the question appeared on the screen. Wu Jiao began to answer one by one. The scope of these topics is very wide, but most of them are tactics and strategies. It seems that you have to look at the big picture. There is nothing related to the mecha. At first, Wu Jiao was a little surprised, but after thinking about it, I understood the intention. In the afternoon, I will test the actual operation of the mecha, and then there is no point in the written test. For the reserve officers of the empire, tactics strategic literacy is as important as mecha driving skills, and it doesn't seem unreasonable that the scores are divided into half. This part is Wu Jiao's strengths, and he has loved reading it since he was a kid. One of the very important questions is how to capture a planet in an important strategic position when the forces are severely insufficient. The content of the test is quite conventional. The test uses simulation software. Candidates dispatch soldiers to command the war, and the computer makes corresponding deployments on behalf of the enemy. Candidates need to defeat the computer to win. There is only one chance. The process will be recorded. Candidates cannot undo any previous commands, even if the situation is discovered. There is no way to go back to the disadvantage. Wu Jiao's hand moved quickly on the screen, allowing the virtual soldiers to raid the city. He thought about it, and finally decided to attack the city and fight for aid. He made various arrangements outside the planet, buying ordinary merchant ships and disguising them as warships, creating the illusion that his own forces were very strong to confuse his opponents. When the planet was easy to defend and difficult to attack, the enemy did not rush to attack. Asking for reinforcements, Wu Jiao found a very convenient location to ambush the reinforcements one by one, and incorporated the captured enemy warships. Finally, when the defenders on the planet had not been supplied for a long time, the siege was turned into a strong attack, and his morale was the highest. When the enemy's morale was at its lowest, they took that planet in one fell swoop. Seeing his victory on the screen, Wu Jiao smiled happily. He looked at the other candidates, and there were less than 10 other candidates besides Sheng Zhongguang, all with serious expressions. Another very important topic, it seems not so conventional enemy has developed a new mech that can escape the current investigation network of the Imperial Army, and now the intercepted intelligence knows that the enemy is planning to land on the mining star to search how can a research institute hidden deep underground, as a defender, repel opponents with minimal losses? Wu Jiao absolutely had reason to suspect that Tan Yan was stimulated by the time he was in mining star. Normally, that is, the technology is not easy to use, so I just stare at it with my eyes. But, it really wasn't that simple. Wu Jiao stared at the additional line of explanation. Intelligence shows that the enemy will attack at night, with poor night vision, and the current number of defenders is not enough to complete manual monitoring. What else can I do? Wu Jiao thought about it for a long time, studied mining star carefully, and finally came up with an idea. After his observation, Mine Star had a special climate, and finally it was rainy. So Wu Jiao secretly sent people to dump a large amount of sand at the possible landing site of the enemy. The sand was poured with water, and a small swamp was formed. After landing, the enemy was caught off guard. Some of them turned on the lights to check under the hectic driving, and they immediately became live targets. Various weapons of the Empire aimed at him and bombarded them, others immediately returned to the air without knowing. There is a substance that can glow at night hidden deep in the swamp below, and it is still a living target. They encountered a special situation they didn't expect when they landed on Mining Star, and they were all annihilated by Wu Jiao in less than a minute. Phew! Wu Jiao sighed. The next questions are not difficult, and Wu Jiao feels that he can answer them quite well. To talk about the episode, there is only one. When Wu Jiao habitually fiddled with the buttons in his pocket again, the chief examiner suddenly ordered him to take out things very seriously. Wu Jiao took out the button. What is this? Wu Jiao whispered, I regard this as a lucky charm. The bald examiner looked at it carefully, then seemed to recognize what it was, and stared at Wu Jiao suspiciously for a long time. When I went out to eat at noon, Yaju rushed to the outside of the examination room. Wu Jiao. How are you? It's not bad, right? Can you do all the questions? Okay. Hey. Yaju said, I'm so worried that my heart is beating. You don't have a heart. Back in the examination room in the afternoon, it was the same examiner. Assess the practical application in the afternoon. He said, it is the actual operation of the mecha. The first round is test dodge, the second round is test shooting, and the third round is actual combat. Wu Jiao looked at Sheng Zhongguang. The latter seemed to be more worried, calm, and relaxed when he didn't have the written test. Then, the candidates whose numbers are called go in, 2 at a time, and the rest are waiting here temporarily. Wu Jiao was at the back. He waited outside for a long time. When it was finally his turn, he was a little tired from sitting. The examiner pointed to a mecha and said to him, go up. Wu Jiao looked up and saw that the mecha was very broken. It seemed that there was only a class, not a smart mecha, and could only be operated manually. He stepped into the elevator board and found that it was much worse than Crow 9. Get familiar with it first. Okay. Wu Jiao didn't feel embarrassed at all, and jumped right and left in front of the examiner. If it's about the same, the examiner said again, then it will begin. It is good. Then I'll talk about the rules first. Later, there will be simulated missiles attacking your mecha. Your task is to avoid them as much as possible. You will feel it when you hit you, and you can see the electronic score. Is this the same as training? It should be noted that, the examiner came with an accented symbol, there will be a few green shells at the end, and they can only be evaded by maneuver. What? Can only maneuver to dodge? Tan Yan once said that maneuver dodge is difficult. Yes. The examiner explained, the enemy may develop new technologies at any time. We cannot assume that we will always have a way to crack them. Sometimes, we need to rely on the driver's own experience instead of solely relying on technology or protection. shield. Oh! Wu Jiao felt that Tan Yan was still stimulated by the matter on Mining Star. Okay, let's start now. Thank you. Wu Jiao put his hand on the row of operation keys on the mecha, ready to press any one of them at any time. Soon, a missile flew towards Wu Jiao at a very fast speed. Immediately afterwards, there were all kinds of missiles, beams of vertical and horizontal misalignment, which made people dazzling. Wu Jiao kept in mind what he learned on the training ground, and observed which ones might hit him and which ones didn't need to worry at all. Then, for those who might hit him, he adopted various countermeasures, shuttled through the room, and took one step. Step by step crossed the end. After crossing the end, all kinds of attacks stopped. Wu Jiao glanced at the scoring, but he was not hit even once. Okay, Wu Jiao thought, just keep this score until the end. Wu Jiao should have won the line. Just like many geniuses in history, they can shock the world in the entrance exam. Written exams in the morning are good, it's better to get full marks in the afternoon and take the course as the undisputed number one. The green one is coming, only maneuvering to dodge. Wu Jiao heard the examiner's reminder. He clenched his fist, his palms were a little sweaty. As soon as he settled down, Wu Jiao saw a green director rushing over, not too fast. Immediately afterwards, a few more came out of the chamber. Wu Jiao could be avoided and was in a panic. However, Wu Jiao quickly formulated a strategy shrinking in the corner. First of all, there are not many missiles that can hit the corner. Secondly, those who can hit the corner of the wall can only be launched from the two opposite walls. The corner is the farthest away from them. Under the resistance of the air, the speed of the missile is also the slowest, which can effectively increase the dodge rate. Once again, if a missile flies to a corner, the mecha can kick off the ground and increase its speed with the help of bounce. If another missile comes after it reaches the roof, it will push down the roof and land quickly even in the process of moving. To be hit, in the worst case, you can kick the back wall to get an extra acceleration. Originally, this strategy was applied very well. Who knows, suddenly a tracking missile came. Wu Jiao kept in mind what Tan Yan said. Tan Yan once said that if you must dodge maneuvering, don't drive as fast as possible, otherwise you will be inflexible. Wu Jiao muttered these words silently in his heart, skirling everywhere, walking coquettishly, always carrying a tail behind him. However, Wu Jiao found, this thing, fuel seems to be sufficient. On the other hand, his seemingly glass mecha, after the tossing a while ago, the fuel could not be used for too long. I can only think of a way to make it hit the wall. Wu Jiao thought to himself, flying in shaped route towards a wall, and then, just before hitting it, the mecha turned over and bounced off the wall with both feet. Wu Jiao stabilized. Looking back, the missile was still. Isn't the speed enough to carry it just now? It also successfully transferred back? Wu Jiao guessed like this, the next time he flew towards the wall at the fastest speed. But, unexpectedly, haven't shaken off. Hateful. Wu Jiao tried back and forth several times, but it avoided the wall. Is there any way to increase its speed? Generally speaking, the tracking missile will fly at a speed similar to that of the attacking target, and then launch an attack at the time it deems appropriate. If it cannot find a good opportunity, it will always follow the target. Now, Wu Jiao is sure that the fastest tracking missile is faster than his mecha, and it did not attack just a few times just because it was more cautious. There is always only one question in Wu Jiao's head, is there any way to increase its speed? By the way, he suddenly realized that gravity. Before, he used the maximum speed to fly towards the wall, which was not enough. So, what if he used the maximum speed to fly towards the ground? Its own speed, combined with the acceleration of gravity, might make it too late to turn and hit the ground? Thinking of this, Wu Jiao didn't think much about it. He ascended to the highest point of the room, then dived to the ground one by one. The head of the mech was down, the engine rang and it fell down quickly. In the other room, several people watching the screen held their breath. Like this, can you get rid of it? The chief examiner asked. I don't know. The other examiners showed blank expressions. I haven't tried it yet, said the bald-headed examiner. I only know that it is impossible for this mecha to hit a missile against a wall, but, plus the acceleration of gravity. I have never had this idea. He is crazy, said a female examiner. Who said no? Another person said, his grades are already number 1. Does he have to get a full score? Is he the kind of person in the legend who will die if he doesn't do his best? This is a good description. Tan Yan, who had not spoken all the time, suddenly inserted a sentence, he is that kind of person. What? Tan Yan, who was asked rhetorically, didn't say anything anymore, just staring at the screen intently. After speaking, the result is out. Wu Jiao still failed to get rid of the missile. Ha 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 ha. The examiner who spoke before said, although it failed, this innovative spirit is worthy of recognition. After saying this, there was no response. Strangely, he turned his head back to the screen, only to find that Wu Jiao had risen to the top of the roof for the second time. It's useless after trying. As soon as the voice fell, he saw Wu Jiao mecha thrusting the ceiling forcefully, and then slapped a number of bullets against the roof with his backhand, and immediately obtained a considerable starting speed. This person. The starting speed, plus the acceleration of gravity, plus the fastest speed of the mecha, this time, will it be enough? He's too crazy, too crazy. The examiner shouted, I never knew this mecha could drive this speed. Yet, it looks scary. The female examiner said again, you hear the mecha creaking, as if it's about to disperse. If the mecha is scattered, he will die. Hearing this, Tan Yan said coldly, what nonsense. Oh! The reprimanded person stuck his tongue out. Why didn't he slow down? Seeing Wu Jiao was about to hit the ground, the female examiner asked worriedly, don't really go wrong. As soon as the voice fell, Wu Jiao's mecha reversed the head and foot positions, landing heavily on both feet, and then bounced off the ground. Everyone only heard a boom. The tracking missile hit the ground, and the simulation smoke filled the ground. In the room, electronic sounds kept humming. This time, it finally failed to turn that corner abnormally. A few words appeared on the scoreboard in the room for an instant, target, miss, and then began to replay the picture continuously. This person. The female examiner said, really? He will turn the position of the mecha's head and feet 1 second later, and the mecha's head will knock to the ground. That way, he will really die. Yet, I don't know if he is confident or reckless. What's his name? Looking at the glass mecha standing quietly in the room, several examiners raised such questions at the same time. One of them reached out and picked up the list of candidates, searching line by line. Wu Jiao. Wu Jiao. Or the person who likes to talk to each other, that interstellar scrap? Is it the interstellar scrap? Jean can't explain the problem, don't use this to qualitative. Tan Yan sitting there suddenly said, if you must ask, he is the driver of Yaju. What? He is the driver of Raven 9. That ordinary person. The female examiner asked again, I only heard that Yaju recognized an ordinary person, but I never cared about his name. Tan Yan smiled, it's Wu Jiao. However, he will soon not be the driver of the Raven 9, is he? Tan Yan said nonchalantly, who knows? On the other side, Wu Jiao was not well shaken in the landing just now. It took him a long time to get over. He helped the outer wall of the mecha and walked out of the mecha. As soon as he got on the lifting platform, his legs were numb again, and he knelt there with a thud until the lifting platform fell. On the ground, he struggled to stand up again, and walked out of the room step by step. Actually, it was a bit too much just now, but he was not reconciled to admit failure without trying everything possible. Outside, Sheng Zhongguang was shocked when he saw Wu Jiao's face. "Are you okay?" "It's okay. Really all right. It's really okay. But why did you become like this?" "I made it myself." Sheng Zhongguang's face was pale. "Isn't it saying that you can't use real guns? Isn't it saying that the exam is not dangerous?" "Don't worry." Wu Jiao couldn't help touching Sheng Zhongguang's head. "You didn't use real guns and live ammunition. As long as you don't do it, you will definitely be safe." Wu Jiao only had time to rest for a while before the exam entered the next round. This time, it is to assess shooting. Candidates need to start from the starting point, surmount possible obstacles along the way, avoid attacks against themselves from time to time, and finally reach the end. The shorter the time it takes to complete the task, the better the results will be. During this process, some targets will appear, all sizes are possible. Candidates need to solve these goals as soon as possible, because for each missed one, the final score will be deducted for 10 seconds. If you miss 6, the final score will increase by a full minute. Poor shooting accuracy is undoubtedly very fatal. Candidates who are hit by an attack while traversing obstacles will not directly result in penalty points, but every time they are hit, the mecha will have a stiff state for a few seconds, which not only delays time, but may also miss the best shot on the target. Opportunity. After some tossing just now, Wu Jiao was actually a little tired, but his brain was very excited, waiting for his attack. Wu Qiao's order is still relatively late. By observing the faces of the candidates in front of him, Wu Jiao felt that the exam seemed to make people feel frustrated easily, and no more than 10 were still radiant after completing the task. When it was Wu Jiao's turn, he walked into the room and boarded the glass mech at the starting point. Timing begins. The arrows of the mech's unwinding generally rushed out, but the following speed was suddenly fast and slow. Frequently advancing. Someone said in the small room where the chief examiner gathered. Yet. Tan Yan watched intently. What Wu Jiao thought in his mind was that the attack from the system was probably related to the candidate's position inferred by the system. The attack system speculates where the examinee should be at a certain point in time, and then focuses on attacking that position, otherwise there will be a situation where there will be a lot of weapons bombarding the starting point 3 minutes later. That seems too stupid. Right. So, as long as you advance at a speed different from the usual situation, you can avoid most of the attacks, and you can more concentrate on the cannonballs that are chasing the candidates through the induction system. It turns out that he was right. Using a slightly different rhythm from the usual situation allowed Wu Jiao to save a lot of energy, which allowed him to pay more attention to shooting that he was still not good at. Wu Jiao focused on aiming at the target time and time again, and then calculated the distance, air resistance, gravity, and the influence of the movement of his mecha on the path of the projectile, so that the aiming point and the impact point were as close as possible. Even if they can't overlap, the error should be small enough to still hit the target. In the first half of the journey, Wu Jiao successfully hit all the shooting targets, and in the second half, he missed a fleeting target because of caution. Sure enough, Wu Jiao thought to himself, there are still too many things to practice about shooting. 1 minute later, Wu Jiao was near the end. At this time, 3 targets appeared in sight at the same time. Wu Jiao has a feeling that they will disappear very soon, and one attack one by one will definitely not hit all of them. This should be the last test of this round. Wu Jiao quickly flashed to a strange position between his thoughts, flashing an electric light and flint. Immediately afterwards, the mecha's arms raised at the same time, boom. The left arm weapon successfully smashed the target on the left, and the shell fired by the right arm weapon still flew after exploding the first target on the right, and it continued to fly for a while and landed on the last target. Before Wu Jiao made an attack, he moved to a place where he could hit 2 targets with 1 shot, so that the 2 targets lined up with him. Wonderful! The examiner yelled. He is the only one who can see that the last 3 targets will disappear 1.5 seconds after they appear. Tan Yan replied casually. Regarding a question that has always been certain, Tan Yan began to waver a bit. Is Wu Jia really a waste of wood? If not, how did his genetic test result come from the first waste wood in the universe? After the second round, Wu Jiao was a little worried. Missed a target, couldn't be eliminated, right? All the people who hit the target, will there be more than 10? In that case, he really had no face to go back to Siaju. Wu Jiao began to recall the whole process just now. It's still very difficult to not be penalized once. However, other candidates have practiced for 4 years, and I only have more than 2 months. Maybe those people are stronger than he thought. No. Maybe not so unbearable. If so many people can get full marks, what is the point of this test? But I have to practice for 5 hours every day. He alone occupies the mecha and training ground for 5 hours a day, and the people in the military academy are in large classes, so it is unlikely that there will be such an environment. Thinking this way, Wu Jiao felt a little relieved. Yiju, probably still lying on the railing of the examination room, quietly waiting for his appearance. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, the final round of examinations officially began. The purpose is to assess the actual combat ability. Numerous chief examiners will come in handy at this time. The actual battle does not mean letting examinees fight each other to determine the victory or defeat, but each examiner personally checks the actual operation level of each examinee on the mecha. Even if the candidate loses, it's no big deal. In fact, they have no chance of winning at all. Tang Triangle. Tan Yan said suddenly, and said to the chief examiner, Wu Jiao, you go and see. Yes. The examiner said, I have this intention. Okay. Should I make him understand that fighting is not that simple? This meant to ask Tan Yan whether he should win a small amount or an overwhelming victory. Tan Yan hesitated and said, no need. Oh. Don't make him too sad. The examiner felt that this answer did not seem to be the general's style. For potential newcomers, the general has always advocated not to make them too proud and complacent, but to make them understand that there are so many fighting skills that require constant efforts to learn. Then, he suddenly thought of Wu Jiao's button, and glanced at the general secretly. That Wu Jiao, to the general, seems a bit different. Have you seen enough? Tan Yan said indifferently, if you have seen enough, let's go. The examiner was a little embarrassed, it's not. Then I'll go. Go ahead. In the final round of actual combat, the exam location was outdoors. Wu Jiao got into the class mecha again. The challenger was the chief examiner, which surprised Wu Jiao. However, this is quite normal when you think about it again. There are 6 examiners in total, and each examiner inspects 5 examinees. Everyone has a 1/6 chance of meeting the chief examiner. Wu Jiao clenched his fists. This is an excellent opportunity for him to try his strength. After an electronic sound, Wu Jiao went up to attack. There is no topography in this venue, and the 2 sides can only fight face to face. While he moved with frequency conversion, from left to right, he let all kinds of weapons take turns to blast his opponents. He knows that the opponent's strength is too much higher than his own. He can only continue to attack, to see if he can suppress the opponent, so that he has no chance to breathe and adjust. In the dazzling effect, Wu Jiao couldn't see if he hit. Then, in the dense light and shadow, a beam of light suddenly passed through everything and came directly. When Wu Jiao found it, it was too late to dodge. The harsh electronic sound immediately sounded, and Wu Jiao knew that he had been hit. The chief examiner's mecha appeared again from the dust. Wu Jiao glanced at the screen. Turns out. Didn't I hit him once? Damn, is this the power gap? While dodging from left to right, Wu Jiao was struck again. The electronic screen shows that the life of the mecha is only half. What to do everywhere? Wu Jiao habitually touched the button again. Are there any points that can be used here? He definitely can't win a Hedon. By the way, or, try that. Wu Jiao suddenly had an idea. Without hesitation, the engine armor rushed between the chief examiner and the sun, and then soared towards the sun. The examiner raised his head and looked over. Under the dazzling bright light, he unconsciously squinted his eyes. Do you think you can escape this way? Too naive, said the chief examiner, turning on infrared and radar detection in the direction of the sun. The result actually showed two groups of things. The examiner was stunned. How is this going? After only hesitating, the chief examiner suddenly noticed a shell hitting it directly. Almost at the same time, the electronic audio system showed a rapid decline in life. After stopping the decline, it could be seen that there was only one life left. At this time, one of the two fell from the sun. The chief examiner found that it was just an escape pod for the mecha. He realized that Wu Jiao used the moment he rushed to the sun and the moment he narrowed his eyes because of the strong backlight to eject the escape capsule. At the same time, he shot the escape capsule with metal flakes and thermal decoys. Cover it. So after turning on infrared and radar detection, I found that there were two targets there. Knowing that there could not be two people, Wu Jiao was very confused at that moment, and Wu Jiao used that second to launch a cannonball, and he was hit by an examinee. This is a miss. Because if you think about it, you can find that the escape pod covered by thin metal sheets and thermal bombs is still much smaller than the mecha. Tan Yan looked at everything and didn't speak. Actually, said the female examiner next to him, if this is actual combat, maybe. Triangle has already lost. Our system only counts the remaining life of the mecha. Now the triangle still has 20% life, so I haven't lost yet. But, you see, Wu Jiao's attack hit the key part of the mecha's chest, which has a shock absorption effect. Worst of all, if it is on the battlefield, the pilot will definitely be injured. In the case of injury, he may not be able to continue fighting. Tan Yan has no expression on his face. The female examiner realized at this moment that Tan Yan would naturally find out what she said, without her reminder. As for Tan Yan, looking at Wu Jiao's mecha still in the sun through the screen, he suddenly felt that the sun was a little dazzling.